Ready? Hi folks, Albert Moore, Blue Jacket Archery here this afternoon, and today we're gonna highlight again the Bear Whitetail Legend Pro, which is a new bow for Bear for 2022. Now, this is not going to be a normal highlight here. We did something with one of these bows that we didn't really tell anybody we were doing. I gave one of these bows to one of my field staff guys, my hunting staff guys, and told him to put about 2,500 arrows through this thing in about the last 3.5, 4 weeks. And he did. Now, why did we put it through that much? That would be considered kind of a mild torture test. We didn't drag it behind a truck or nothing like that. We just shot the snot out of it for about 3.5, 4 weeks. So why did we do that? We're not too concerned here at Blue Jacket Archery with doing a lot of highlights or reviews on high-end flagship bows. Why? Because most of our customers in this area, that's not what they're buying. Probably 90% of our customers in this area are buying bows at retail for $699 down to $400 or $500 price range. That's where most of our sales are at. That's why we concentrate so much on this price range of bows. So here again, why do we do that? Because you can get onto YouTube and you can see 100 and 200 different reviews on any flagship bow on the market. You can see all kinds of those videos all day long, but very few people do videos on bows or reviews on bows in this price range where most of the bow buyers are at least for us. So anyhow, that's why we did that to this bow. So now he got some notes here. There's a lot of other stuff I could say about some of those reviews, like people being paid, which we have very strong evidence now that there are people out there being paid by certain manufacturers to do a review on another brand of bow and just rip it a new one, bash it, trash it, whatever they want to do to it. And folks, here at Blue Jacket Archery, people that know us know full well we do not do that. We are not being paid by anybody. If there's a product out there that's a piece of crap, we're going to tell you. If it's a good product, we're going to tell you. All right? We've never lied to anybody. We've never deceived anybody. So be careful when you watch some of those high-end reviews. A lot of what you see is not the truth. Watch more than just a couple. You want to watch about 10 or 20, as many as you can see, and you're going to find out, you're going to start seeing a lot of anomalies going on there between one reviewer and the next. So the ones that are probably telling you the truth are probably the ones that will find bad points of the product plus the good points. Then it's up to you to decide whether those bad points and good points outweigh each other. Anyway, so back to this bow. What we did with this bow, I'll show you my notes. Everybody knows me, I don't normally have notes. But this was written by the pro staff gentleman that tested this bow over 2,500 arrows. And you can see it's kind of chicken scratching, so you're going to have to bear with me here as I read this and try to make heads or tails of what he's trying to tell me here. So if it sounds like I'm bouncing back and forth a lot, you understand why. Now, the first thing he noticed at about 250 shots, the rubber string stop kept moving forward on him to about a 1/2 inch gap. So he looked at it, and here what we discovered, the set screws that hold this rod on the bow, which are right here, had worked their way loose a little bit, and that rod was actually working its way forward through the end of the riser, creating that gap. So at first, we thought the rubber string stop itself wasn't pushed on the whole way, but it was. We discovered this. He fixed it and hasn't had trouble since. That happened at about 250 shots, he says here on his notes. So that's one little thing there. It's not really a flaw. Just somebody probably at the plant probably didn't tighten up the screws right. But anyway, he fixed that. Now, another thing he said too here in his notes, when he first started shooting this bow, he absolutely despised the grip. This is a very thin, narrow-throated grip, and this gentleman has a tendency to shoot with a very low-risk grip on a bow, and he found that grip to be somewhat annoying. And then until he got about somewhere around 800 shots through this bow, he started to really appreciate that grip. So this grip is not a grip that you're going to pick up and immediately fall in love with. He said you want to shoot that bow about 500 to 800 arrows, and when you start realizing what this bow's doing because of this narrow-throated grip, you start liking it quite a bit. So that's one else thing you found there. Somewhere around 1,200 arrows on his notes here, he noticed the arrows were flying tail left, which they were not doing that at first. So he checked the bow real quick. The bow was out of spec. He twisted things up, put the bow back in spec, and the arrows started to fly really good. That happened, folks, because of the crappy strings and cables that just about all manufacturers in the $500 price range bow are going to give you. They're not going to give you the premium stuff on a $500 bow. No manufacturer is going to do that. All right, now, as time went on and he first started scrutinizing this bow, he noticed some other things. Now, these are not bad points. They're just points that just are. This limb pocket is somewhat of a minimalist design. It's just basically a cap over the tips of the limbs, and it is made out of cast aluminum. It's not machined. It is cast. All right. However, keep this in mind. Virtually every other manufacturer out there in the mid $500 price range of bow, they're giving you full plastic limb pockets. Totally plastic. Some of them clear up to and including their flagship models that are $1,200. This is a $500 bow, so we expect to see things like cast. And it also does have right here, the cameraman can probably zoom in on that, it does have some very beefy plastic liners in around the limb to limb pocket fit. Now, everybody that has watched my videos in the past knows full well what we think of plastic liners. Here again, people, understand, keep this in mind. This is a mid $500 price range bow. This is not a $1,200 bow. All right? There's companies out there with high-end flagship models giving you plastic liners around the limb to limb pocket fit on $1,200 bows. This is a mid $500 price range bow. We expect to see things like this. However, when he noticed that, keep in mind, we noticed this stuff before we even brought the bows in. But nevertheless, we're telling you about it now. What he did notice, unlike a lot of other manufacturers that are using plastic liners on their higher end bows, the surface to surface contact with this limb and that plastic liner is actually quite impressive. There is a boatload of contact, a lot of square inches being sucked up here. They're actually full contact and very, very tight. My gosh, there's more contact and surface area in this limb to limb pocket fit, even with plastic liner, than some of the flagship bows that we even have hanging on the rack here. Now, keep this in mind too, folks. Mid $500 price range bow. We're not saying that this bow is better than a flagship model. We're not saying that. This is a $550 bow. Keep that in mind. There's a reason why some bows are $1,200 and some are $550. All right, but we're not concerned about those flagship bows right now. We're concerned about this one. But all in all, for plastic liners and a limb pocket, it is an extremely tight fit. A lot of surface-to-surface contact. Keep in mind that virtually everybody else out there, every other brand of bow that we've seen in this price range, you're not getting cast at all. You're getting a completely plastic limb pocket. So kudos to Bear for giving us. He says here he was very impressed with the build, the quality of build, and the fit of the components in this price range of bow. All right. Also, this bow does have Bear's Eco Cam system on it. This is the same cam system that they use on their flagship model, the Refine, and I think the Escalate. This is the same cam that they use on their high-end flagship models. It's totally adjustable, 70 to 90% let off. It comes with limb stop or cable stops, whichever you prefer. So, now, we're almost done here. Well, not quite. I'm about halfway through here. His overall review of this bow, he says here, after 2,500 arrows, and he did log how many arrows he's putting through it, all right? Right at 2,500 arrows, he said this is one of the smoothest drawing bows that he shot at any price. folks, he not only was he testing this bow for us, he was testing 3 other models for us at the same time. Different brands, some are the same brands, some are different brands, but he's testing 4 different bows at the same time. And out of all those bows, 2 of those bows are high-end flagship models. He said out of all those bows that he was testing for us, this is absolutely the smoothest drawing one of them all, regardless of price. All right. Now, smoothest drawing of and the most effortless drawing of the 4 tested, while still generating, even with all these other features packed into this bow at a mid $500 price range. He said it's still generating the performance and the speed as advertised, which you can go back to in some of our past videos where we speed tested this thing, and you'll see that it easily shot within 3 to 4 foot a second of the advertised speed. All right, so that's another plus for a bow in this price range. Now, one of his final thoughts was, he said himself, keep in mind, folks, this gentleman that I'm talking about here, 6-figure income guy, he has shot virtually every flagship model of bow out of the major companies over the last 10 years. He has shot virtually every one of their flagship model bows. And he says right here, he would absolutely have no trouble hunting with the Legend Pro for an entire season, because it has all the criteria that he himself is looking for in a hunting bow. Short, light, and fast. 30 inches long, 3.8 pounds, and the speed test we already talked about. So the bow, he said the bow is packed with every feature in this price range that he could possibly want for a hunting bow. And even out of this price range, it has most of the features that he's looking for in a hunting bow. Now, so 2,500 arrows, he said he realizes is the high side of the number of shots that the average bow hunter will put through a bow. The average whitetail hunter, eastern whitetail hunter, will usually picks their bow up August, September. They shoot some arrows, get practiced up a little bit. They tag out. Hopefully they tag out, and the bow goes back in the closet. So till the following year. Now, keeping in mind, 2,500 arrows in 4 weeks. That's as many arrows as most of the average whitetail hunters will put through this bow in 2 to 3 years. We did it in 4 weeks with 0 problems, other than what I've told you here. So anyway, that's kind of his final points there. Now, I did, however, tell him to keep that bow, and he's going to continue testing that thing up to about another 1,000 plus arrows, just to see if anything else pops up. If anything else does pop up, we're certainly going to tell you. If you don't hear back from us on this test, then assume nothing popped up. Everything was fine. So 3,500 to 4,000 arrows, my heavens, folks. That's as many arrows as most people would put through a bow in this price range in 5 or 6, 7 years, you know, depending on how much they shoot. But the average person in this area for whitetail, that's what they're doing, August through October, and the bow goes back in the closet. So now, what else did he say here? Okay, what are we saying? Okay, here again, I'm going to repeat myself here. Keep in mind, we're not saying this is better than a flagship bow. We are saying this is better than any other bow that we've run across in the mid $500 price range. There's virtually nothing out there that will compete with it. In this price range for the quality of build and everything else, the fit and everything. Now, I think that's about it. I probably forgot something. He told me a few things that he wanted me to say about when he tested it, and I didn't write them down, so I probably forgot them. But nevertheless, he'll yell at me later, but hey, I'll get over it. So now, in the future here, folks, stay tuned. We have some exciting news coming up here that involves this bow in the very near future. Whenever things happen, we got something else in mind for this bow. We're not going to tell you what it is right now. It's kind of a surprise. When it all unfolds, I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to like it. So that's coming. And in the very near future, within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we have some really big news coming that should excite all of our followers and all of our customers. Well, that's another secret. We're not telling you what that is until everything's ready and ready to roll with it. So that's it. I'm Albert Moore from Blue Jacket Archery. Come on down to that little cabin in the valley and see what hunters shoot. Until then, folks, have a great day. Thank you.